Hey everybody, thanks for finding us today here on the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. My name's Brian Engelman. This is Blake Walley, and we're going to discuss the news. Yes, the news. All the news that's fit to print? Nah. All the news that's fit to spew. It's a social media age. We just let it rip. We're a different breed. But we don't just absorb what's going on in the news. We kind of break down what the allegations are, and we try to tell you what's actually happening. What a fun turn for the news to become a participation event. I mean, for how long has it been that the news is simply absorbed? And you say, well, that's what Cronkite is saying. That must be the way that it is. That's not the way that it is. We've seen the infiltration of the FBI, the CIA, all the intelligence agencies telling you the news. This is what you're supposed to believe today. Well, look, I understand that there's a need for governmental propaganda. I understand why they would want that, but I don't understand why any of you would want that. If that needs to exist somewhere, if we need to have state-sponsored Karine Jean-Pierre's on MSNBC and CNN and Fox, look, just label it that and let's move on. But here at the New American Media, we break down stories, we call out the liars, and we try to really reshape fake narratives into what appears to be reality. We're not perfect, but we're never going to intentionally lie to you. We may have disagreements on policies or interpretations, but we're never going to intentionally lie to you. So we appreciate you finding us, and we ask you to follow the Agree to Disagree show and the New American Media in all of the places. Blake is on X. He's at TV's Blake Walley and The Next Level News, where his stuff is located. Blake, yes, all the news fit to be spoken. Thank you, Kenneth B. Leave your comments, by the way. It makes our show so much more fun. Blake, how are you doing today, sir? How was your weekend?
Doing pretty good, Brian. It's great to be here. It's Super Tuesday. And the weekend flew by pretty quickly. And that's it. I guess I'm ready for another action-packed week of news. I was just calling out Dan Rather not too long ago. And I'm kind of wondering, I should have put it in the stack perhaps, because I did not. I was kind of thinking, is Dan Rather, would we consider him a real journalist, or does he sound more like an intelligence asset? Because now I'm trying to wonder, with some of the stuff that he puts out there, he's actually calling for an end of balanced news. So, and just calling for fact checked every time that Donald Trump is on stage, which is, fair game and all, but can't that play both ways? But he doesn't want it both ways. They want to just kind of direct you. I want to challenge your critical thinking skills. I want people to think for themselves and call me out if I'm wrong. Dan Rather just wants you to believe whatever he's spewing out there, which may be BS. Maybe it's not. I would love to talk to Dan Rather. But again, I think, where he used to be a respectable journalist. Now I just think, a lot of people have counted this out as Operation Mockingbird. The CIA runs the media. And maybe that's true. And Dan Rather, his whole time, has been nothing more than an intelligence asset, spewing propaganda, lying to the American public. But
Blake, I've previously put out the offer for you to invite Mr. Mike Barra to join us on an Agree to Disagree one of these days, but I would also encourage you to invite Dan Rather onto an episode of the Agree to Disagree show. I think it would be fun. I mean, these people are retired. They got nothing better to do. When you, not Mike, of course, I'm talking about Dan Rather now, but, you'd be surprised who would say yes to have a show. And it's like,
no, they'll ignore you. They always do, Brian.
Maybe.
They have nothing to lose. They have nothing to gain and everything to lose by getting in the ring with me. I called out the omni-liberal yesterday. I forget his name. But I'll give him respect because he does actually engage in debates with people. Because usually a lot of these leftists, they avoid debates. And they don't want to give smaller people a platform or give them the attention. And they certainly don't want to lose to them in a debate. So,
well, Look, it's like Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And also your response reminds me of my homeowners association where the president had been there for 30 years. And it was, I came in with a fresh homeowner, fresh ideas, fresh eyes. And often I was met with, well, let's do this. He's like, well, we did that before and it didn't work. I go, well, when did you do that? Well, I don't know, a while ago. Well, how long is a while ago? A couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, a couple years ago, a couple decades ago. We can try again. So yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it's likely that Dan Rather would be like, wow, what a great opportunity. I feel like stopping what I'm doing today. But you never know. You never know. So I think this year we should focus a little bit more on getting some of those interesting conversations with interesting people. But for today, the interesting people are myself, Brian Engelman, and Blake Walley over here on the Agree to Disagree show. Tuesday, March 5th, we're going to talk about Trump's 9-0 decision in the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about Victoria Nuland. We're going to talk about breaking news with Kyrsten Sinema. We're going to talk about Trump and what will happen today on Super Tuesday. I don't have it in the stack, but wow, what a massive, I did put it in the title, Super Tuesday blackouts, dropouts, and surprises. Blackouts because Instagram, Meta, Threads, all down. Down, down, down. I don't know if they're down where you are, Blake, but mine were down most of today.
I don't look. You like Meta. You love Facebook. You love Instagram. I can't stand Facebook. And I don't post enough on Instagram. I just don't even care. So I wouldn't even notice if they went down. I just hear about it on Twitter, X. Oh, apparently stuff is down. All right.
So we can talk about that wrapped into Super Tuesday because it's a very, very interesting time to just kind of do an information blackout. I don't know. But will it end in a flawless victory like in a Mortal Kombat episode? We shall see. And we're going to talk about Biden, Obama, Nuland, Mayorkas, Harris, all of the cast of characters in this treasonous off-Broadway play we seem to be witnessing take place at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, or whichever side set happens to be available in between Joe Biden's dog biting people, in between the scary shower situations and all of the blackmail opportunities with Hunter. I digress. It's America's most bizarre, in-your-face, thumb-in-the-eye reality show we've ever seen. But we're also going to talk about what that team, the Biden team, is doing to import illegals. Is it to secure future votes? Is it for the coming World War, Civil War, Revolutionary War? We shall see. Also, Joe Biden, could he have possibly been too busy to meet with the head of Border Patrol? I don't know. We're going to discuss it on today's show. So let's jump right into the number one, well, maybe not the number one story of the day, but we're going to work our way right over to it. Here we go. All right, then. Blake, Supreme Court stepped up in a really surprising way to some. On some perspectives, they were thinking, how dare you? What kind of dirt must Ketanji Brown Jackson have left behind for the Trumpsters to get their way? But on the Republican, conservative / national normal side, they're saying, well, of course it's 9-0. It had to be 9-0. But even how did you get the liberals to come along and agree with something so common sense? Let's talk about the Supreme Court's 9-0 decision. Would you agree or disagree that the Supreme Court ruling 9-0 in a unanimous ruling that Trump can stay on all of the state ballots, or he must stay on all the ballots? Does that prove that the Supreme Court is illegitimate? What say you?
Disagree. This is the hysterical ramblings of Keith Olbermann, who under fire got big ratioed the other day for freaking out about this. Yeah, it's weird to watch that meltdown. These people are just completely delusional. They have the major Trump derangement syndrome, and they were looking forward to somehow the Supreme Court was supposed to, in the guise of like protecting democracy. This is what's really funny about it. So they consider it democracy when they remove their opposition candidate. Like they're all supposed to go along with that in this supposed, insurrection, which wasn't an insurrection. It was just a protest and a gathering in DC. There weren't anybody with arms. It wasn't an overthrow of the government, but they want to believe that so badly. And then
It was a mostly
think
peaceful protest. It was a mostly
Right.
peaceful protest. And they've repeated their big lie for 3 years, thinking we'd be stupid enough to keep regurgitating it. But the facts simply don't line up with that.
Right. So they keep using the insurrection, but I don't think they seem to understand the definition of that word. And yet that you're trying to use that as a reason to keep Trump off the ballot in multiple states. Like that's going to go over well. So it doesn't. They've overreached, and even the Supreme Court was like, okay, no, this is not going to stand, man. So here we go, and this is I don't know if we'd call it the headline story, but yeah, Keith Olbermann is sort of the poster child, the headline, if you will, for yes, the hysterical Trump derangement syndrome. Facing ridicule for his hilarious meltdown, appearing to suggest that he literally cried urine. We'll get into that a little bit. Attempts by individual states to disqualify Trump from running for president again for his supposed role in inciting January 6th were unanimously struck down by the top court. The ruling applies specifically to Colorado, but also serves to override any similar challenges brought by any other states and means Trump is free to compete in the Colorado primary today. So suffice it to say, washed up former MSNBC host and virulent Trump derangement syndrome sufferer, Keith Olbermann, didn't take it well. And so here's the tweet. The Supreme Court has betrayed democracy. Its members, including Jackson, Kagan, and Sotomayor, have proved themselves inept at reading comprehension. And collectively, the court, in quotations, has shown itself to be corrupt and illegitimate and must be dissolved. I mean,
That's
just
hilarious.
flaming fascism. Like we're supposed to remove Trump off all ballots on all the states, and now we've got to disband the Supreme Court and all called democracy. I mean, just he's so nuts and so self-unaware, and I don't know. He's got some major mental health issues, and I don't know if there's any fixing Keith Olbermann. He is long gone, and he's so convinced that he's right. He is just one of the most toxic people in the country. And I don't know. I have a feeling someday he's going to be just removed from his penthouse in a straitjacket. And maybe that's for his own good. This guy needs some medication or something. He is.
I had such a visual, like that. All just the way that you framed that, it turned into like a cartoony, like where how is somebody removed? By the way, let's invite Keith Olbermann onto the Agree to Disagree show. Let's do this, Blake. Let's make this happen. So for today, we're going to invite Dan Rather, Keith Olbermann. So as we have
omni-liberal guy.
What's that? Which one?
And then who's the omni-liberal guy? I forget.
I don't know, but let's invite him too.
Oh.
And let's bring him in for like 10-minute segments or, little bite-sized pieces where, hey, you came up on the show the other day. We'd love to have you in. And let's be civil. Let's be mostly civil. We'll give the civility to them as much as they give it to us. And let's just listen to them use their words. And it doesn't have to devolve into like yelling and gotcha and you're a piece of trash. Like, let's just try to talk. Let's hear these people.
Do you really think Keith Olbermann's going to have a reasonable debate with anybody without shrieking into insults, name calling?
Well, then we can give some of that energy back, but let's try it. When's the last time we've tried talking to someone that's untalkable? I actually had a business meeting last week, and it became pretty crystal clear that he and I were on different sides of the aisle ideologically. And he was saying things that made me question his judgment in a professional level. Because I don't know how that can't bleed through when you're talking to somebody who's like out to lunch on some of the most obvious stories out there. And it's like, if you're going to believe that, how could you possibly be talented at your job? There's no way you can objectively look at this situation and reach the conclusions you've reached. How do you reach any of the conclusions you reach? It's one of those tactics when you're on trial. Are you lying now, Mr. Walley, or were you lying then? You're like, oh, that's such a good line, and it's a good line because it's a good line. It frames it properly. But yes, okay, so we're going to invite the optimist liberal guy. We're going to invite Olbermann, and we're going to invite Dan Rather. So I'm going to keep a running list here, and I'm going to send out the invites. Or we both can. Maybe we'll do half and half, Blake. We'll see who has a better pen pal return rate.
All right. Well, the Omni Liberal would have a chance with, because he's actually debated with Alex Jones and Glenn Greenwald, and I forget a couple other things. But he's at least willing to jump in the ring. Nobody else will. But still, I don't think we're big enough that we're easily ignored and formidable enough to just, why would they want to bother? Again, it's nothing to gain.
All right. Well, look, Blake, I'm doing the Wayne Gretzky
down for them. Right.
I will never think of myself as small. I will.
Always I think I can kick all their asses. I don't fear
anybody from President Trump to Putin. There is no person on this planet where I would feel inferior enough to not extend an invitation to join me in a conversation. I will do that with my dying breath. Yeah, our numbers aren't at the Tucker level. We're not at Sean Hannity level. We're not at Tim Pool level. We get it, but we're going to be. I don't know. We already are in my head. We just haven't caught up to it yet on the timeline. So, yeah, I'm going after everybody. That's my thought. I'm sticking to it. If you want to reach out to the Omnivore, let's bring the Omnivore on. I don't even know who
did. It's not like he acknowledged me, so not that I was expecting it. Yeah, here he is. He was just talking about this old graphic, which I roasted and brought it out because it's true. It's about and Elon tweeted this out about a year ago. It's just showing how far the left has gone to the extremes, where I would consider myself center left. In no way do I consider myself anything resembling the modern left regressives they are today, and I would be seen as more center right, which is fine. I don't care, but it's an illustration of how extreme the leftists have become over the years. And so a lot of them just seem to be, unaware of that. I think a lot of them are even, young enough. They don't really understand what it was like to be a liberal in the 90s or during the Bush regime, which I don't feel like.
By the way, Blake, if you might be able to hit retweet on that and tag at American_media, just mention that we've talked about that today. I would gladly put that out there on our feed as well. But yeah, the Overton window, they also call it. It's shifted so far. They've shown the old footage of Bill Clinton in the 90s just discussing immigration in a common sense way. And you're like, oh my gosh, he's ultra mega. It's insane to think about where we've gone in, 30 short years, a couple of terms that have really led us astray. I don't think the history books yet fully understand. I started having this conversation earlier today. The negative impact that Barack Hussein Obama has had on the United States, on global politics, on the fabric of society. There are so many ways that the Obama team and the Obama energy of political organizing, the shakedowns and the dividing, the professional grift, the Sharpton and Jackson kind of cranked up to steroids, all of the ways that our society has gone, just that photograph or that graphic rather really sums it up. I mean, the people are here and they've gone completely into left field. They've jumped over the fence. They're running through the parking lot. We haven't seen them in a half hour. They're running the opposite direction. Like, people are here, and that regressive party has just, I mean, they're about ready to feel what it means to have a legitimate election and see what America really thinks. I think the COVID hysteria mixed in with all of the mail-ins provided a ripe environment for absolute unbelievable weirdness to happen in 2020. And here we are now. I mean, Olbermann freaking out about the Supreme Court, but there's no more tricks they can pull on that front. I guess the response, Blake, I don't know if you heard people saying it, but it's like, okay, well, now we have the framework where Congress can do something to keep Trump off the ballot, since the Supreme Court said, no, this is a federal issue. So like, okay, we're going to act federally. I mean, there's no there, right? We're talking both houses of the Senate and the House of Representatives have to participate. Like the impeachment thing already went through. He's never been charged with insurrection. He can't, like, are we done with the lawfare part? Are we done with this particular part of trying to kick him off of the state's primary ballots and then the November ballots? Do you think we're done on this front?
Just on this part, yeah. So no more states are going to be able to do this. They're not going to get away with it.
Okay.
So, but I mean, the lawfare is going to continue, and they're going to pull every dirty trick imaginable, and including doing nefarious things as far as reducing the voter integrity. Another one I didn't have in my stack, where I think A.G. Garland was in some Alabama church, making some big fuss over, the voting, the ballot drop-offs and what have you, to make it sound like they're disenfranchising voters. They're not. It's all BS. They're pulling every trick imaginable because they need to win this election.
That's such an awful. It's the most despicable form of communication. It's causing brain damage to people when you're trying to convince them that they're being hunted for who they are when they're not, and it's all being used as a trick politically. It's the basic bare minimum. Step one to go to any casino in Las Vegas or nightclub in Los Angeles. Step one is provide identification. You don't even get in the door to discuss. Do I get bottle service? Can I sit at a table? Can I get a drink? Let me sit down and have some food. You don't even walk through the front friggin' door without step one. So yeah, people like Garland pushing this stuff. I mean, they are the worst. Obama with his earpiece in the basement, he's got to be getting such a kick out of people. Who was the latest one? Did you say it was Mayorkas was out there? He was the one in front of the
I think it was Garland, actually.
Garland, that's right. It was Garland. I'm like, it wasn't Mayorkas this time. But it's like the self-flagellation of these people who have to say things that degrade themselves and degrade common sense and degrade our country. It really is a self-humiliation ritual. It's astonishing, but it seems like Obama gets off on stuff like that. Anyway, what's this one you have here with Biden saying Democrats, not Trump or his supporters, are the real extremists?
Yeah, this is out of the Federalist, and they're talking about the recent unanimous Supreme Court ruling should be a stark reminder that Democrats aren't playing by the rules anymore. So they ruled on Monday they have no power to remove President Trump from the ballot. But Democrats and their lackeys in the corporate press denounced the court for supposedly meddling or interfering in the election. So it's sad to see some of these people, but I mean, they could be intelligence assets, or they're people that just, they know how to keep their jobs. They're not going to make waves, and they're going to, regurgitate talking points from the DNC or whatever, and try to give their, keep their audience to believing their BS. So when Democrats interfere in a presidential election, launch what amounts to do an insurrection against the U.S. Constitution, and the Supreme Court steps in and unanimously puts a stop to it, it's the court, not Democratic activists, who are interfering in the election. The hypocrisy here is breathtaking, but not unexpected. Democrats engage in this kind of projection constantly, taking an extreme position and then decrying any dissent or resistance to it as extremist.
Blake, that is their number one play. It is so tired. It is so worn out. It is so played out. I don't know if they're completely it has to be. Would you agree that doing what that last sentence said is completely counterproductive and they can't seem to stop doing it? It's like they don't have another play in their playbook. Or are they still doing it because it's effective? Do you think it's effective or counterproductive for them to be acting like that with all that projection?
I think it's losing its efficacy. So I don't know if that's going to continue to work.
They have no in a very big way. A very big way.
they're never going to admit like, oh, okay, yeah, they're wrong. They're the ones that are a threat to democracy, and Trump isn't nearly as bad as they said. So yeah, they've kind of backed themselves into a corner, and they're going to continue to go. That's why it at least looks hysterical when people like Keith Olbermann are freaking out. Now they're actually like saying that they're compromised and they have to disband the Supreme Court. Like they've really lost the plot. It's sad, but hey, I don't know, we still got to cover it. I don't know what to say, but just to follow up, yeah, it was A.G. Garland who was voting rights in a Selma speech on Democracy's Foundation and talking
how
about
insulting, how damned insulting.
Right.
If you don't know whether to vote for me or Trump, you ain't black. The Democrats are the party of insulting, racist belittlement. Oh, you can't have an identification card. Find me a person who can't get an identification card. This whole narrative that black people are incapable of getting ID cards is this stuff was disproven 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. This hasn't been a legitimate argument for as long as I can remember. It's been completely debunked. There are not groups of people who are incapable of acquiring the information necessary to walk through the front door of your nightclub. That's the least you can expect for someone to cast a vote, is to just prove who they are and that they have credentials. Show me your credentials. Are you credentialed to vote in this election? For Garland to be sent out there by Biden, Obama in the basement to just make it seem like entire groups of people are incompetent, incapable of getting a driver's license. It's just, it's beyond my comprehension, Blake. Am I wrong in remembering that this was debunked completely and fully decades ago? This hasn't been a legitimate question or argument for several terms at this point? Or am I misremembering this?
No, I mean, at least in this century, no. I can't imagine that. Yeah, like, well, you said, it's a nightclub. Anybody has got have had ID for so many things. Get on an airplane or to buy alcohol or any number of different. You wouldn't be able to survive in our society without one, but they're acting like you don't need one to go vote, and that somehow we're disenfranchising. So it's ridiculous that they're making this stuff up, and they're trying to paint themselves. Oh, they're the good guys. They're fighting for democracy. They're fighting whatever, and it doesn't make any sense to anybody else. But I guess the people that want to believe their BS. But yeah, we all need to call it out. We have to have some kind of election integrity, or we will lose our democracy. So it's ironically.
Yeah, exactly. Hello to Dreamer Ultra. I know Kenneth. It's fun because we get regulars in the chats, and they're like, "Hey, is Dreamer here?" Says Kenneth about 10 minutes ago, and it's Jocelyn should be coming in hopefully in the next 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We'll see. But yeah, please jump in and leave your comments. However, we're streaming here on the Agree to Disagree show. We love it. Subscribe to the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify, and follow the New American Media everywhere. Blake is at TV's Blake Walley on X as well. Okay, do we have anything else to say about Trump's unanimous Supreme Court backing, that he can be on the ballot in all 50 states? That is at least one settled issue. Moving on to the next. Anything else to wrap that story up as we move along here?
Nope, I think we're good. Let's roll.
All right, well, let's keep it rolling. There's a lot of stories going on.
Story you pulled up?
Yeah, what about the story I pulled up?
Did you have anything there?
Yeah, just a touch and go because it was something breaking. So let's jump right to it. And so I was actually going to take the lead on this one and not toss it to you. But I did like my caption. I did like my what I put here. Agree or disagree that Kyrsten Sinema deserves praise for avoiding a three-way. Kyrsten Sinema deserves praise for avoiding a three-way. Let's go to this story.
She was dating. She actually dated Keith Olbermann. That's a weird segue there, coincidentally. Yeah.
She dated Keith Olbermann. You're telling me.
Isn't that true? I'm gonna have to look that up. Go ahead. I'm gonna fact check myself in real time, the way Dan Rather wants.
The way Dan Rather wants. What would WWDRD? What would Dan Rather do?
Right.
That'd be good merchandise. What would Dan Rather do? But no, I think she's been linked. That her and her, I think her and her girlfriends and her sexualities become an issue in the state. It's one of the things she openly discussed. I don't know. I just, that was my understanding. I didn't know she was into men. But this story here, Kyrsten Sinema, this according to Phoenix, KRON4, independent senator, by the way, she left. Well, I guess we'll get to it in this statement here. Independent Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona announced Tuesday, that's today, that she will not run for a second term after her estrangement from the Democratic Party left her politically homeless and without a clear path to re-election. So she said, man, whatever these Democrats are, Blake, talk about a segue. This was the perfect story for her because she left that Democrat Party. She didn't understand where they went. So Sinema's announcement comes after Senate Republicans blocked a bipartisan bill to help secure the U.S.-Mexico border and deliver military aid to Ukraine and Israel, which Sinema spent months negotiating. She'd hoped it would be a signature achievement addressing one of Washington's most intractable challenges, as well as a powerful endorsement for her increasingly lonely view that cross-party deal-making remains possible. So it's interesting that they frame this as Senate Republicans are blocking a bipartisan bill to secure the border. It's like, this is so disingenuous. So disingenuous. All Obama needs to reverse everything he did with border policy day one. No deals. No, we're not doing that. We're not codifying this. We're not marking a certain amount of illegal border crossings as tolerable. Whatever was sent up there for the Senate, it was trash. So they were right to reject it. Anyway, in the end, Sinema's border security ambitions and her career in Congress were swallowed by the partisanship that has paralyzed Congress. So here we go. Says decision avoids a three-way in one of the most closely watched 2024 Senate races. It's a hard to forecast scenario that spawned fierce debate among political operatives about whether one major party would benefit in the quest for the Senate majority. Most analysts agreed Sinema had faced significant, likely insurmountable hurdles if she'd decided to run. So her quarterly fundraising was outpaced by Democrat Ruben Gallego and Republican Kari Lake. This is Kari Lake's time. Blake, just based on your brief understanding of this breaking news story and knowing that Kari Lake is there, I believe I typed in one of my X posts that what this is another in a long line of potential 2024 politicos like Mitt Romney and the rest, who have decided there's no way we're stopping the Trump train. We're getting out of the way so we don't get creamed by it. What's your take?
Well, it could be. I mean, I'm glad to see Kari Lake, appear as the front runner. I think she's a solid candidate, a potential VP pick. She's been a rising star, and she can do more. And with Sinema out of the way, that certainly, brings down the showdown between her and Gallego, and she should beat him. But I just don't trust Maricopa County or a lot of the counties or the leadership going on in Arizona. So it's going to be a tough battle there.
There has to be more transparency. There has to be better transparency across the board, my man. Like, I don't know how to trust anything.
Yeah, but just even the dirty tricks they pulled on Election Day, because a lot of the Republicans will vote on Election Day, not vote early and stuff the ballot boxes. So they try to do it legitimately, and they turned a lot of people. That was disenfranchisement, what happened when she ran against Katie, and everyone knew that she was going to win. And even Good Morning America knew that Katie was down 11 points, and then somehow she won miraculously. So, yeah, it's ridiculous.
And by the way, Kari Lake, this is like watching Tiger Woods in his prime, and you see that he doesn't even make the cut. It's like watching prime Mike Tyson. He gets knocked out in the first round. It's something that it doesn't pass the fucking eyeball test. Kari Lake is one of the most well put together. And I mean, she's a former news lady. She presents well. She gives you that politician look, but she is bright and sharp, intelligent, well-versed, clear, concise, direct, strong. She's, dare I say, one of the best political candidates I have ever seen in my entire fucking life. And so it's similar to the Joe Biden scenario. I have never seen a more disliked presidential candidate who had campaigned less, who had fewer road signs, yard signs, every hen house, outhouse, doghouse, and farmhouse from here. The Biden had no signs, no support, no merch, no hats, no shirts, no love. He was probably 10th in the DNC primaries. Nobody liked the guy. Somehow he becomes the nominee. Somehow he beats the most popular president, who was crushing America prior to COVID, by the way. It doesn't pass the smell test. If this were just an average candidate under average circumstances, under average, what's the difference? A John McCain, a Mitch McConnell, a Mitt Romney, it's this, a Jeb Bush. It's just this rhino uniparty globalist, murky quasi-Republican swamp creature. They're interchangeable. But when Kari Lake got beat, wink, wink, honk, honk, it didn't pass the smell test. She's a phenomenal candidate. So yeah, when something is so far removed from what your lying eyeballs and ears are telling you, I think that's a great place to start looking a little deeper and make sure, demanding, dare I say, more accountability and transparency, and the ability to oversee and safeguard an election. Let me wrap this up on Sinema real quick and we'll bounce to the next. Sinema was a Democrat for most of her political career, but left the party late last year, saying she doesn't fit into the two-party system. She had alienated many of her colleagues and her party's base by blocking progressive priorities. Okay, so that's good. Often siding with business interests. That can be good. In an era of tribalistic party loyalty, she went out of her way to build relationships with Republicans. Okay, well, that sounds good on the surface. When Sinema became independent in late 2022, Democrats feared she would split the left of center vote and allow a Republican to win. So if you're believing this article that I already pointed out was kind of biased in how they're writing it, that this might be a negative toward the Republican Party, I don't know. But it says Republicans have a favorable map in the battle for control of the Senate. Democrats will be forced to defend 23 seats, including Sinema's and 2 others held by independents who usually vote with Democrats, compared with just 10 seats for Republicans. And finally, Sinema tried to build her Senate career in the mold, like I said, of John McCain, legendary Arizona Senate Republican, whose willingness to buck the GOP infuriated his party's base, but endeared him to the state's more moderate voters. So anyway, there's all sorts of weirdness in that article, but that's breaking news. Kyrsten Sinema, keep your eyes on Kari Lake, keep your eyes on Arizona. Blake, you might have an article pulled up. Is that about Victoria Nuland or on this one before we bounce to the next?
No, it's not. Are we going to Victoria Nuland? Do you want me to get that story up? No, that's not what I had up there, but take it wherever you want.
Yeah, I think let's do that. So that's
cover the headline story of, Super Tuesday or stay on the election.
Yeah, we'll bounce off of this one as well and dig into the election, because everybody's going to want to know, how did it go? What was the results? And, that's what people want to know.
Stick with the election here. I had nothing. Yeah.
Oh, you want to stick with the election? Okay. All right, we'll skip Victoria Nuland. I was just going to kind of touch and go on her because she's such a monster.
We'll get to it. Don't worry. That's coming. There's a little bit more of a video I want to run with Victoria Nuland. I haven't even seen all of it, but I'd like to flesh that out a little bit. We might as well stay on the election.
The 4-minute video that I put on X?
Huh?
It's like a 4-minute video.
With that. I don't know what that is, but you can pull that one up too.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's talk about this. Today is Tuesday, Super Tuesday. Blake, agree or disagree that Trump should record a flawless victory today, Super Tuesday?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think he's going to win all of them. He's going to win all of the different races today. Here we go. Republicans will hold the nominating contest in 15 states and one territory, I guess. So we'll get a really good idea of how this election. It's pretty much coming down to Trump versus Biden again, which is fine. The rematch, but we'll get to that. There's going to be some news on that front too. So President Biden remains the front runner for the Democrats and doesn't face any serious challengers. So why don't I just tie this real quick? Michelle Obama says she will not be running for president. A lot of people think, yes, she would be a good choice. She's very popular, but she's just really not a politico. She has no interest in it, and she's just going to be there to support President Joe and Vice President Kamala. No mention of potential Gavin Newsom. So it looks like, as far as I can tell so far, the Democrats plan to run with the same team they have.
That is astonishing. I wonder if that's because they know whoever they put up is going to get smoked. So you might as well just burn the ship in 4 years with Biden. Like, just go down with the ship and just blame him as, and regroup for the next term, because nothing's stopping Trump. They've got to be surprised they were able to get away with 2020. They have to be super surprised. And the way that the investigations, the indictments, and the truth is coming out, I bet you they're also panicking because they know justice is knocking on the door as well.
Yeah, well, that's possible too. They can just flush them away. But yes, we'll see what happens. I don't expect any major contenders to Joe on this Super Tuesday. Of course, was it Nimarata Haley, Nikki Haley.
Nimarata Nikki Rhonda Howa Haley wants you to use your real name online.
Right. Neocon Nikki.
Never Nikki.
Is still there. Never Nikki. Never Nick.
Wait,
Neocon
hold on.
Nikki.
Before we get to Nikki, she won in D.C. Let's touch on that as well.
I know. That's what I'm going to say, is because it should be a flawless victory, because Nikki Haley, the only place that she has won so far or even come anywhere close is the D.C. swamp.
Blake, can you let's do a little exercise. Let's name some swamp birds, because Trump has nicknamed her Bird and Bird Brain. So you have like a pelican, you have a crane. What are some other swamp birds? Pelican, crane.
I'm not quite sure, Brian.
All right, well, we'll call her the pelican.
We were going into that direction. I couldn't tell you.
Because it's a swamp bird and she's Bird Brain. Trump's now just calling her the Bird, which is pretty damn funny.
Yeah,
but
Bird Brain.
The dirty swamp likes Bird Brain, likes the pelican. That's about it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not that familiar, but yes, that's where she won, was D.C. She got destroyed in South Carolina, where she was governor. And in fact, I think most of the people that voted for her were actually Biden voters.
Wait, you mean it wasn't even close in South Carolina?
No. So now she's got to deal with...
Like Trump won by 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5?
Like, what do you mean? Like, by percentage-wise? Do you have the number offhand, Brian?
No, I don't have it. But yeah, she got smoked in her home state. Some people just want to keep pointing to D.C. It's like, wow, look at that. She got the swamp. It's like, look at her home state. That is way more relevant. Way more relevant. And they don't like her. And like you said, Blake, the only people doing this, they're the people just who are going to support anybody but Trump, ABT, in the next election.
Yeah, pretty much. So it's either like Biden voters or just people that are voting against Trump, not even necessarily for her, but she just happens to be standing because she's still got big money donors, the old guard neocons, trying to prop her up and hoping that maybe they can get Trump, imprisoned or something, and that'll open the door for Haley. But earlier, even talking the other one, I think it was, I don't know if it was Ramaswamy, who's talking about maybe she would run as a Democrat or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard that. Well, Vivek is convinced that Michelle is going to run for the Democrats as well. Dreamer suggests, how about the pigeon? The pigeon. Nikki Haley, the pigeon. Okay, perhaps.
There you go.
Everybody's heard about the bird. Oh, well, a bird. Hi, Jocelyn. There she is, right on time. She's working in the yard, listening to us. Thanks for joining us. Type us. What are you doing in the yard? Tell us as well. I've been gardening. Are you all gardening and trying to grow more food? Please prepare this year, it's not in our stack, but Texas has burned all of the cattle, all of the grazing land. Like, this feels very intentional to ruin our food supply. So please be aware. I hope you're out there working on food, Jocelyn. Anyway, sorry, Blake, go ahead.
All right. Well, yes, it is Super Tuesday, and there's going to be multiple primaries today. 15 different states: Alabama, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Vermont, Virginia. There's going to be a couple caucuses, Alaska and Utah.
That sounds like that song that you sing, Blake, in like elementary school. Arkansas, Tennessee, California, don't you see, or something. Do you have to learn that song to learn the states?
I don't remember that one, Brian. Maybe that's what they taught you in Cuyahoga County, but I don't remember that. Maybe I did. Maybe I don't remember it.
I love when Blake references Cuyahoga County with strong emphasis. Yeah, so Super Tuesday, it should be a rout. Nikki Haley, Blake, once again, we've had another week to think about it. Are we annoyed at her for not uniting the party? Or are we actually thrilled that she's gathering tens of millions of dollars from Trump haters and setting it on fire? I'm kind of torn on it.
Yeah, I mean, just let her keep running. I mean, yeah, people need to, see that and what she represents. And it's the old guard neoconservative wing that we hated in the 2000s, or at least a lot of people did. They should. I'm surprised she's still up there, but I guess that's, they have to fight for their survival, and they've chosen Nikki. And, I guess out of the choices, I guess that makes sense. But Trump is very strong, he's a populist, and people really like him. And I expect a clean sweep and a flawless victory.
Do we want to pivot off of that to somebody that people do not like, Biden? Is his administration importing illegals to win future votes? Is that something you'd agree with or disagree with?
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And this is coming from a Elon tweet on X. And let's see, we got Biden regime. They admitted to flying 320,000 illegal immigrants secretly to at least 43 airports in the U.S. to lessen the border crossing numbers.
I'd like to remind Gateway Pundit the term is illegal alien, not illegal immigrant. When you break in, you're not a guest, you're a home invader. When you kick the door down, you're a criminal, you're a trespasser, you've broken and entered, you've committed a series of penalties, including a home invasion if somebody's here. This is not an illegal immigrant. You immigrate properly. This is not proper. And all these people going on airplanes not being checked. You got to be kidding me. I'm taking my shoes off. You're use the backside of your hand to touch my junk to make sure I'm not what, and you're letting hundreds of thousands of people sneak in and get delivered God knows where for God knows what. This is goddamn crazy.
Okay. Well, anyway, where was I? Yes. Well, Brian, as you're pointing out, this is immigration. This is where we get, nice people from around the globe that want to come here and survive and thrive with the rest of America. And they, learn about the Constitution. They learn about our culture, and we want to welcome those people. We embrace them. Let's be great Americans, but not as an invasion where we just have, just swarms of people, millions and millions of people, thousands every single day, just swarming on over. And they're being enticed, and they're given benefits, they're given money. They're going to be, it's amazing. They're rolling out the red carpet for these people. It doesn't make any sense unless you can consider the possibility that it is for future elections. They are the new voters for the Democratic Party. That way the uniparty can stay in power, because these people will obviously vote so that they can stay in the country. They don't want to be deported, and they're going to want benefits, and that's kind of the formula that they've had in like South America, Venezuela, Chavez. They tend to vote for even these ruthless dictators because they think they're getting, more free stuff. Oh, they're getting, food and blankets. Oh, and they'll vote. They'll stay there. They'll vote for their own enslavement, basically. And they have no history. They have no understanding of our culture. They're probably not going to embrace anything. Probably not going to learn the language. Not great. They're just looking for an escape, which I can't blame them for, but they're not actual refugees. So, but now revelations have emerged. The Biden regime has been operating secret charter flights to transport illegal immigrants from foreign airports to various cities. Covert operation has been ongoing amidst an unprecedented influx of illegal aliens across the southern border. So that's what's really astonishing, is that they're getting overwhelmed with the borders. People are freaking out. So they're like, hey, well, why don't we just fly them in secretly? And then, no one's going to care. So 43 different airports. That's enough to swing elections all across the country. Some of these elections, only come down to maybe a few thousand votes. So if you're bringing in all these people, they could easily change the elections. Then they were using a CBB One mobile app that played a pivotal role in the operation. So people were basically calling for asylum application process on their phones in various countries, and they're giving them the granting travel authorization and temporary humanitarian release. So it's pretty amazing that this is what's been going on. We have not understood. So here's another. The administration is both importing voters and creating a national security threat from unvetted illegal immigrants. It's highly probable the groundwork is being laid for something worse than 9/11, just a matter of time, which is also in our stack. These kind of tie together. Is the groundwork being laid for something far worse than 9/11? Brian, do you agree or disagree on that one?
My God, I've been warning people for as long as I've been doing my show. The next war that comes, a real war, it's going to be a revolutionary war, civil war, and world war all rolled into one, and you're kind of not going to really have a clear idea of who you're fighting and who's fighting you. I have been I've been working to provide you with accurate reporting for 12 years. To give everything I have to help prevent what's felt like an unfortunate inevitability coming. Yeah. I don't know what day the power shuts off. The internet doesn't return. I don't know how long it lasts. I think it's going to be super easy to have all of your political dissidents geocached down to 5 feet away from their last usage of their electronic device. They know where your cars are. They know where you live. And these armies of people are going to go on raids, 4 at a time, 8 at a time, 10, 15, 20, to just go eliminate the people that need eliminated first, the loudest, the ones with the most clout, the ones who resist too strongly. Yeah, I don't hope for a world like that. If I were a bad guy, that would be my next move. The power would go out, and you'd see what the full overthrow of a nation looks like. That's what I would do if I were a bad guy. So you're damn right. I think that it's possible that something far worse than 9/11 is on its way. There's no logical reason why Kamala Harris, Alejandro Mayorkas, Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, there's no reason why these people would be allowing millions of people to come through the country without the massive possibility / probability / statistical certainty that more bad things are going to happen. We saw it with Lake and Riley. Is that going to be the 2024 George Floyd? Maybe. I think Americans have had enough. Every single crime committed by someone who's already broken through our back door, when they kicked in our door, every crime that's happening is blood stains on this Obama, Biden, Harris, Mayorkas monstrosity, Blake. So yeah, I think we all need to be prepared to spring into action on 60 seconds notice. And I'll tell you what, if your home gets hit while you're dead asleep, you better be ready on 5-10 seconds notice. So you're damn right. I'm worried that something a lot bigger is about ready to happen. I don't see a way out of it, because if I were a bad guy, this would be my next move, hands down.
Perhaps, yeah, they're definitely taking us down. So, yeah, they got to import all these people, change our culture, change our laws, vote in the wrong people. And yes, Elon Musk been very vocal about this, which has been great. He's saying it's obvious to anybody who's not a fool at this that this administration is deliberately importing vast numbers of illegals. No grand conspiracy theories needed to explain this, just simple incentives. They are far more likely to vote Democrat than Republican. And what else do we have? He's calling it treason indeed, ushering vast numbers of illegals. This is why Secretary Mayorkas was impeached. They are importing voters. This is why groups on the far left fight so hard to stop voter ID requirements under the absurd guise of protecting the right to vote. After the big announcement that all of these illegal immigrants that we know of so far, 320,000. That's just that were flown into various airports, not counting the well over 10 million that have been brought in through the border. Probably many more that we know about. And of course, it could be the groundwork for something worse than 9/11. Yeah, I think just having our country taken away by people that shouldn't be here, and that's pretty alarming stuff. We won't recognize this country in 20 years because these people who are not native, don't care about our culture, are just looking for an escape from their worst country. And they're going to bring everything down just to stay within the country and get their benefits. And it's going to be pretty terrifying. They're really setting things up for something bad. Yes, and Lake and Riley and many other people that have been victims of crime from these illegal aliens, because they don't respect our country or our laws or understand or do not care. And we're enticing.
They're not invited guests, they're invaders, and they need to be treated as such.
Right. So I think there's one more on that topic, Brian, before we'll bounce.
Agree or disagree that Joe Biden was too busy to meet with the head of Border Patrol, Blake?
Well, apparently he finally did a few days ago. Now he finally actually visited the border. But yes, and you've got this lackey Kirby from the Pentagon refusing to explain why Biden has never spoken to Border Patrol heads, which seems pretty amazing. So, and it was last year of the term, Joe Biden had never spoken to the heads of the Border Patrol. You'd think that would have happened at some point, unless they were just allowing this crisis to manifest and fester. And they would turn a blind eye and pretend nothing was happening.
Allowing it is one way to say it. Allowing it versus the architect of it. They're the architects of it. This isn't incompetence. This isn't an old man who can't remember names and forgets where he is, doesn't know how to walk off a stage or stay on a bike or climb stairs. It's not just that. This is exactly the plan being carried out perfectly with Biden as the fall guy. It's the perfect Obama third term. Anyway, just
pretty much
for reference. It's not just, there's a crisis. There's this that's like, a tornado that just came out of nowhere. We were not expecting that. No. On day one, you changed all your policies and invited millions in that now have to go. You've created such a damned mess. And I'm getting reports, Blake. I don't know if you're hearing them where you are, but just all sorts of places. The ride share services, large companies, the big box stores, employing tons of illegal aliens. That there is a big business component to this. I don't know if you're hearing the same stuff, but I mean, we're hearing it, we're seeing it. It seems very obvious that there's a workforce that needs to be replaced, which leads the question, where did everybody go? Where did the workforce go? It also leads to bear the other questions of what California is trying to do and what you're hearing other legislation of. Should these invaders be given jobs to patrol the streets against Americans? Should they be given arms and be called American military with a chance to earn your way into citizenship? Blake, I don't know if you heard the story of the guy in the UK. He made some stickers on his on Telegram or something, said like it's okay to be white because there's like all this anti-white stuff. They put him in jail for 2 years now. Right now.
Damn.
UK is being replaced with people that are not Great Britain residents. The entire community is being changed. It's like how Ilhan Omar and her brother husband came into Minnesota. It's like you go, how did someone like Ilhan Omar and her terrible policies, how did she get representation? How in the world did she get into Congress? And it's like, well, Minnesota let an enclave take over an entire gerrymandered area, and now they vote in a monstrous, a person with terrible policies. And it's like, this is the overthrow of the United States. We've seen it in Great Britain. A guy abuses a child and he's given probation. Someone says it's okay to be who you are, and they're thrown in jail for 2 years. And it's happening more and more. It's happening in Canada. It's happening in Great Britain. This is the plan. We're seeing it in action. It's beyond what I could have ever imagined in Obama's worst recesses of who he is and what's left of his soul. I never thought it would get this bad. I don't know if you're recognizing it as being that bad, but like you've kind of alluded to the replacement of the native peoples. This is what Soros and the team globalists have been trying to do for decades now.
Yeah, they want globalism. They don't want like these nationalist countries that stand together with their own culture. They want to just mix everything all together under their rulership. So it's going to be, under the World Economic Forum and this climate change green tyranny. And there will be no Bill of Rights. There will be no Constitution. It'll be like, the Hunger Games. It'll be like a neo-feudalism. A return to that, where they will rule over everybody. There will be no freedom of speech. There will be no Second Amendment. There will be no Fourth Amendment. It'll be pretty terrifying stuff. But that's what they want, and that's how they can ensure to stay in power and control and never have the peasants revolt against them. And we have Anton here saying it's, do you know how hard it is for a European to immigrate to the U.S.? Close to impossible. Yeah, I believe that. We have there's a lot of really good immigrants that have been on a waiting list for a long time that would love to come to this country, but that's not the game plan. They want people that don't understand, that will just vote for whatever they want. And they're using this playbook in Europe and the United States and anywhere else they can get away with it. So they're just bringing down the first world.
And speaking of bringing down the first world, Blake, let's touch on these 2 points because it ties into exactly what you're saying right here. Dreamer said we're also adding $1 trillion to the debt every few months as per Bank of America. And he concludes, even if Trump wins, we're still headed for some form of bankruptcy light at the best. Yeah, what a great time to have 15 million invaders just camped out on your street corners. I'm seeing more videos of this where these invaders from parts unknown are now taking over inner city street corners, like they're trying to claim the area as their own, and the locals are getting ready to go to war with them. Like, no joke, territory and street corners are a thing in Los Angeles and New York. Pick any city USA. The street corners belong to the residents there, nobody else. This shit is going to come to a head. It's going to the cup will runneth over. But once again, maybe Lake and Riley was that moment. But yeah, it being close to impossible for people from Europe to come over here to America, the people who founded this nation, how difficult it is. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me in the least. Okay. Did you have anything else to add about Biden before we get to Victoria Nuland here?
Yeah, I was just going to play a quick clip here
that
with
seems to be the
John
issue.
Kirby getting grilled here. But yeah, he's dancing around the issue.
That is really cropping up in these polls, John.
Well, look, I can't speak for the polling numbers. I can just tell you, speaking for the president, that he is 100% engaged in the job of being commander-in-chief and president of the United States. And again, through his leadership,
Liar. Okay.
all these domestic things have improved, as well as our footing on the world stage. This is a president who is actively engaged every single day. I've seen it for myself.
Yeah, look at the body language. He does not believe exact what he just said. He can't believe.
And
he
look
said
at
that.
her. Look at her. She's like a
believe-
confused Labrador when you do I'm going to hide the ball trick. She's like, are
Right,
you
like-
out of your damned mind? Literally everything you said. It's that scene from Billy Madison. We are all dumber for having listened to it. I deduct 5 points and may God have mercy on your soul. Whatever that, I don't have it committed to memory. But
that's close enough.
this is gaslighting at a level that 1984 would never have believed we'd ever literally see. There are tweaks, there are lies of omission, there's spin, there's obfuscation, there's all sorts of manner of communication where, you can precisely say some things and allude to some things. These are all tactics, strategies that can be used in a game of linguistic tennis. What they have resorted to now is flat out, in your face, double-barreled middle fingers, whipped out, junk in one hand, whizzing on your leg while they lean in and tell you that it's raining. They know that we know, and they're doing it anyway. That was the craziest 15 seconds. Can Blake, can you rewind that and just play the Kirby real quick about who this guy is and who he isn't? That was an incredible 15 seconds of nonstop lie.
Was it spokesperson for the Pentagon? Yeah, he's like Karine Jean-Pierre, except he works for the Pentagon. So he's there to defend the administration no matter what. And he just, looks like a clown doing it. Well, yeah, I guess somebody's got to lie. So if he was to, tell us the truth, then he'd be out of a job and they'd replace him with somebody that is willing to lie. So he's kind of stuck in that position. But yeah, it is comical to see it. If it wasn't so
I don't
tragic.
know how you couldn't go Peppermint Patty and just go, I got to bounce. You got to be kidding me. I can't do this. Oh my God. Like, how could you continue to show up each day?
Because somebody else will, right? You want to make the big money. You want that power. You want that prestige. Even if you clown yourself every day, I guess some people are willing to sell out. But if he leaves, there's going to be, a dozen people that are going to want to take that job. They'll jump in there.
All right. Well, there you have it.
It's sickening, but yeah, that's a problem with their society, I guess. Here we go.
John.
Well, look, I can't speak for the polling numbers. I can just tell you, speaking for the president, that he is 100% engaged in the job of being commander-in-chief and president of the United States. And again, through his leadership, all these domestic things have improved, as well as our footing on the world stage. This is a president who is actively engaged every single day. I've seen it for myself.
Okay, let's get to some of that specifically. You say he's actively engaged, and yet, according to his former Border Patrol chief, who spoke out on 60 Minutes, Raul Ortiz,
nothing has improved.
He never spoke with.
Nothing has improved domestically.
Right.
We've restored something on the global stage. No, we haven't. We are a damned joke. I'm sorry. Just had to add that.
Okay.
The president, the entire time he was the border chief, overseeing 21,000 agents. or the vice president. Given the fact that this is the #1 issue for voters in every primary state we've covered so far, John, how is that possible?
Well, you saw the president down at Brownsville last week, Martha. As his second visit down to the border, he obviously has a close relationship with Secretary Mayorkas and everybody at DHS. He had a chance to meet directly with border agents down there in Brownsville. This is an issue he knows is important to the American people. It's important to him. And frankly, Martha, that's why it was so important for the Senate to pass that bipartisan bill, which included significant changes, not only in border security, but immigration policy. And now it's languishing because the House won't take it up. The president's willing to negotiate and compromise and talk about all these things and move forward. That's why I asked for that national security supplement.
How has he never spoken to, and you know what, we did some reporting on this earlier today, not only Raul Ortiz, the former chief of the Border Patrol, but the current chief of the Border Patrol, Chief Owens, who you pointed out he did meet with in Brownsville, but from what we could find out, they had never spoken before that. How is that possible?
Well, the president.
Yeah, it's the great question. You're going to tell me that he was really engaged with everything that's going on, but he's never spoken to the head of the Border Patrol until just this last week after the overwhelming crisis. So yeah, it's a clown show.
Absolute clown show. Dreamer says, give the lines to Kirby, Dreamer says, and he'll say anything. He also appreciated this little part. Confused Labrador is the best analogy you have ever come up with, Brian. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And then, of course, here Kenneth saying, yeah, Joe Biden's engaged in ice cream licking. Exactly. Jocelyn adds, did everyone forget that Mayorkas was impeached? Mayorkas has no more authority. He needs to clean out of his desk and leave. Now, is that how that works? Or like the other chamber of the House, what is it? You got the House and
Senate's got to do it, and they're not going to go for it because they got a 2/3 majority. So that's probably not going to happen. We're going to be stuck with Mayorkas, which is a damn shame. But hopefully, it's 8 more months, and hopefully they lose. Otherwise, it's over because we can't. If you're the if you're the Secretary of Homeland Security and your job is to keep the homeland secure, yet you're letting an invasion occur every single day and then pretending it's not a problem. You got to go.
Yeah, I was actually just having this exact conversation with somebody, a different industry, but there was an issue at the company and a significant amount of money has been taken. And there was something in the cybersecurity that was known years ago. And it was this person's job to be on top of these things and make sure that you're not vulnerable. And this 3-year-old issue reared its ugly head and hundreds of thousands of dollars are gone. It's like, you don't think that person's head is about to roll? You had one job, and it was to protect. Look, sadly, I don't think there's going to be many people who are going to come running to our aid when the shit goes down. Get prepared, financially fit, physically fit, mentally fit, spiritually fit. Get ready. Get ready to act on 5-10 seconds notice, on 60 seconds notice. Get ready to act if, I don't know, 1.5 million acres of farmland start erupting in flames from God knows what reason. You got to grab a backpack and go. Guys, we are being invaded. There are obviously bad people here who snuffed out Lake and Riley, who have wiped out mother and daughter at intersections driving 70 miles an hour through negligence, through pure animal criminality, through recklessness. Soon there might be people acting out of desperation and people acting out because they're just awaiting orders. They're waiting to activate. They have a plan. And as soon as, who gave the orders to stop counting in 2020? Who gave those orders? Well, who's going to give the orders when the cells are activated? Fuck. I wish we could get on here and talk about trivial stuff and have fun and tell jokes. I really root for those days, but we find ourselves where we find ourselves regardless. Okay, let's accept the small win. We got one final story. It's about Victoria Nuland leaving, and we can celebrate.
Yeah.
If you have any other Comments, please get them in. Well, go ahead, Blake.
No, I was gonna say no. I'm ready. Let's launch.
Yeah, if you have any other
Last
comments,
story.
get them in on chat here. And final story. Victoria Nuland. Let's accept the small victories as we have them. All right, final question. We pose this to you, the audience. Type your answer, one sentence. Type your one sentence answer in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree that Victoria Nuland deserves the Medal of Honor for her leadership? Blake?
No, I'm going to disagree. I think she should be tried for treason. Perhaps, we'll see what happens after that. But yes, it looks like Ding Dong, the Wicked Witch, is stepping down. Let me pull up this story. Victoria Nuland steps down. Now, after the Gateway Pundit Freedom of Information Act request, could be connected, could be related, could be a coincidence. Either way, it's about time she's got to go. The architect of the disastrous U.S.-Ukraine policy since 2014 will be resigning in the coming weeks. And it happened to happen right after the Gateway Pundit filled out a Freedom of Information Act request to find out what her role was in the death of U.S. journalist Gonzalo Lira in Ukraine.
There we are.
Who happened to be an outspoken Nuland critic who was subsequently arrested and tortured in Ukraine until he died alone from pneumonia in a prison cell after he had tried to escape, run for his life to the the Hungarian border, Polish border? I can't remember. He was on the run, and they took him, and yes, a journalist who should have been protected, but he was allowed to die in prison. Victoria Nuland, this is part of the story from Gonzalo Lira, who was one of my favorite journalists of the last couple of years. Followed him, and unfortunately, was allowed to die, and perhaps at the hands of Victoria Nuland. So let's check out some words from him.
Mm-hmm. Where is Tiffany Dover? Remember Tiffany Dover, please.
And Brian, do you know who Tiffany Dover is?
Tell us.
She was the lady, I think it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. She was the first person. She was on camera getting the experimental jab when she fainted. Many people thought that she perished there and was never seen or heard from again. So he was making that point. Is interesting now in hindsight, because he is no longer with us, but just the importance of remembering people.
See, when we forget the names of important people, when we fail to mention them, they disappear.
So that's why we have to highlight Tiffany Dover, and we have to highlight Gonzalo Lira. We have to do the same favor for him because he would have done it for us.
And they disappear, and whatever tragedy has befallen them was for nothing. Okay, so don't let that happen. Okay.
So don't let Gonzalo Lira's name be forgotten. Do not let Tiffany Dover's name be forgotten.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Victoria Nuland. Victoria Nuland is currently the Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs in the United States State Department. She is a career bureaucrat, a career Foreign Service officer, and she is the woman most responsible for the current war that is going on here in Ukraine. One could argue, as I will argue here, that she directly led to this war. She instigated it. And she manipulated and bullied and cajoled all of the players to get into this war that will result in the destruction of the Ukrainian nation, the scattering of the Ukrainian people, and just misery all around. She is the one responsible. She is why there is a war here in Ukraine. And I'm going to explain how this happened, why she's the one who made it happen. What were her goals and objectives? See, you have to understand, people don't wake up and decide, you know something? I'm going to be really evil today. It doesn't work that way. People don't think that way. People don't say to themselves that they're just going to do something arbitrarily that's going to negatively affect a whole host of people for no good reason whatsoever. They always have good reasons. Now, one can disagree with those reasons. One can say that those reasons are bad, they're selfish, that they're just not worth the cost, the consequences. That's very different. But nobody acts arbitrarily. And many times, the things that drive us to action, especially those people who are extremely smart but lack any self-awareness, they often are driven to their actions and their hatreds and their visceral reactions to different events by things that happened long ago. In some cases, by things that happened before they were born.
Well, we could keep going because this is a long segment. But yes, a very big critic of Victoria Nuland, who calls her out, an independent journalist who died in a cold Ukrainian cell after being tortured. Yes, for calling out the regime. It is disgusting. Yes, Victoria Nuland, her husband was it Robert Kagan? He's like arch neocon who was on the what was it, the Project for the New American Century back in the day with the Dick Cheneys and Donald Rumsfelds and some of those big names from that time. Wanted to basically created our whole, new war plan during the Bush administration. And so, yes, this Russia estimating 444,000 dead Ukrainians for basically at the hands of Victoria Nuland. And he said that Victoria Nuland hates his guts and was responsible for his arrest. And then he made this video 2 years ago outlining her role in Ukraine. So I don't know how much else to get into. We can roll another minute or so. Feel bad? Yes. I used to really listen to a lot of these reports that he put out from Kharkov.
I think this is an important day to hear what we can from him. We'll let him kind of wind the rest of the show down. I just want to jump in here and show you this. This is the before and after.
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
Victoria Nuland.
It's amazing. Yeah, she's beautiful back in the day, and then wow, the evil that just took over. Now, yeah, she just looks like out of central casting as some evil arch villain witch. I mean, yeah, look at her back in the day. She's gorgeous.
Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a nice. I mean, that gives off. Remember, I was saying that Carrie Lake is a great candidate. She's well put together. She's charismatic. She's engaging. She's smart. Like this photo says all sorts of things. And then you look at where she is now, and you look at a demon that's been feasting on souls that you've been shoving into a meat grinder unnecessarily for weeks, months. This is from Martyr Maid at Martyr Maid, the tweet that we put out at American_media_. By the way, since Instagram and Facebook is down today, it's more important that you follow Blake and I. Blake's at TV's Blake Walley on X. More now than ever, it's important. But Martyr Maid says, at 50, everyone has the face that he or she deserves. And that's a quote from George Orwell.
Wow.
Look at that miserable shell of what this bright, optimistic human could have been had they chosen the path of light and love instead of the path of unnecessary destruction. Screw Nuland and Obama and Biden for what they've done in Ukraine and in Russia. So undamn necessary. And you got some reporters that are willing to go into places that are uncomfortable. It feels reckless. It feels dangerous. But who the hell else is going to tell the real story of what's happening? Like I said earlier about the real legacy of Barack Obama. Who else is going to tell the story? Leave it on the record. Because they're going to start writing the books and they're going to start crafting this fake version of things that just as badly as they've been doing, trying to ruin the legacies of the founding of America and the founding fathers of this country and the founding documents that made this place a cool place. But you just have these bitter, angry people like 50-year-old Nuland who, they want to give you their version of things. So yeah, let's kind of wind today's show down, Blake. Listening to Gonzalo, Jocelyn says, hanging around with evil takes its toll as one loses its soul. God, that sounds like Linkin Park lyrics. But yeah, very true. I agree. But yeah, let's hear a little bit more of this, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
We're about, I got 4 minutes left, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay, let's roll out with Gonzalo.
And I'm going to argue that insofar as Victoria Nuland is concerned. Because when you start looking into her biography, you realize all kinds of very, very interesting things about her. Her background, the hatred and rage that she carries in her heart, which she is expressing by way of this destruction of Ukraine in hopes of ultimately destroying Russia, which is her real aim. Well, I don't think that she's aware of it. It's really fascinating, because if she were aware of it, she wouldn't have allowed this to happen. But she's blind. So let's get started. Okay, as I said, Victoria Nuland essentially runs American foreign policy insofar as Russia is concerned. See, because she has started her career back in the early 90s, okay? And she worked her way, she started working under Strobe Talbot in the Clinton administration. Strobe Talbot was a very important foreign service official in the 90s. She then worked as an assistant to Dick Cheney, as a deputy assistant insofar as foreign affairs was concerned. And she was the ambassador, the US ambassador to NATO, which is a very important position. And she's done different jobs over the years that have eventually led her to this position of Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, which when you hear the title, it seems so obscure. But she is very clearly a woman who much prefers to have to be in the background, to maintain a very low profile. And I'm sure that one of her minions in the State Department or on her staff is watching this right now as we're speaking, and hi there, how's it going? I hope you're having a good Sunday, wasting it on me. Poor bastard, or poor dumb girl, but anyway. Victoria Nuland is carrying out a policy which is very, very, very simple. The American goal, foreign policy goal, is to have a weak and preferably divided Russia, either actually divided into smaller Balkanized countries or politically so divided that it's essentially inert. Basically, the American goal is to have a Russia like the good old days in the 90s. Because in the 90s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the United States was able to enter Russia and exploit it to a degree that is unprecedented. Exploit it, steal from it. I mean, really just, it's not too strong a word to say that Russia as a country was raped by American bureaucrats and American financiers and just the whole neoliberal ideology that was imported wholesale into Russia, which eviscerated the country, created these obscenely rich oligarchs, even as the people were starving, even as the retirees and veterans of the Second World War were destitute in the streets. The Americans created the horrible 90s for the Russians. And it is with some amazement that we can see how far Russia has come from those dark days of the 90s. But that's the Russia that the American establishment wants to see again. That's the Russia that people like Victoria Nuland and the class of people that she represents in the American bureaucratic establishment want to see imposed on Russia again.
Well, there we go. Now we see why, unfortunately, he was not rescued as he should have been. He made some very powerful enemies. And there you see her.
There you see her. Look at that as an enemy. Goodness. Yeah, I thought it was important to end with Gonzalo Lira. His words were important and his stories were important. And, we're all in a fraternity here in the New American Media. You know, we didn't work together like with our outlets per se, but I think anybody reporting on world events outside of the propaganda media, I consider them to be brothers and sisters in the same ideology. So, yeah. But Blake, Victoria Nuland going away, that's a win, right? That means that they lost. That means that they're done. That means that she's 86th. Her run is over. Or do you think she's going to go back into the shadows and be just as effective? If you were guessing, is this a win?
I'm sure she'll be a consultant somewhere, but yeah, no, she's not going away yet. But
should we view it as a win?
Right. It's still addition by subtraction. So if she's gone, and hopefully she'll get to face justice with the next administration. All I can hope is that Trump wins and we take America back, and it's time for some retaliation against these people that have abused their power. And there's a lot of a lot of destruction that came out of this completely unnecessary Russia-Ukrainian conflict that should not have been meddling in. So, and we lost a good man there with Gonzalo Lira. So,
well, like Dreamer Ultra said, I only hope for justice. That's what treason charges. That's what dereliction of duty charges. That's what aiding and abetting the enemy charges. That's what bribery, blackmail, coercion, like everything they are. Remember, this is Biden and Burisma, everything that Hunter, like it's all money laundering. It's all disgusting and it's all unnecessary. And it's time we get our damn house in order, before the whole house of cards comes down for sure. So thank you to Jocelyn and Vince and Kenneth and everybody else joining us today. Blake, any final words and/or remind people where to follow you online?
Oh yeah, thanks to Anton. We had a new listener today. Good to see new faces. Yes, TV's Blake Walley on Twitter, X, and of course the archive will always be on the nextlevelnews.com. Thank you, Brian, and everyone. We'll look forward to maybe, I don't know, Thursday, this afternoon or night show. We're still
What do you think, Blake,
out.
for a night show, tomorrow or Thursday? What do you think?
I don't know. Thursday night, you know what? They got the State of the Unions. Maybe we should do a show Friday and talk about State of the Union. What do you
want to do that? Do we want to? Okay, we'll talk offline. But yeah, let me know. Let me know if you wanted to go regular Thursday at whatever time and add an evening show on Friday to cover the State of the Union, or Friday afternoon. I don't know. Just we'll talk offline. But yeah, we got to let the people know when they can find us next. So. Right. If you were a guessing man, when do you think the next one would be? Just guessing. Speculation.
Maybe Friday afternoon sounds interesting to cover the State of the Union. Or
Friday afternoon for the Union. Would you want to do Thursday regular, Wednesday evening, Thursday evening?
I don't know, just because the State of the Union happens to be on Thursday nights. Tonight's Super Tuesday, State of the Union Thursday night. So I don't know if we're not doing live coverage on it, and I do want to watch it while it's on. So anyway, that's the only reason I would move it around this week, but I'm not exactly sure going forward. But we'll see. But
all right,
next show probably Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon we can try for. All right, cool. Well, follow us in all the places. Right. I appreciate you for watching. This is the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media. We'll talk to you again soon. Take care.
All right.